You
Bro,
know
you
what?
leave me out on everything.
Chiefs talk is so last year. Now it's time to roast them in
Now it's
soccer.
now it's time for the real Chiefs of
Yeah,
soccer.
yeah. Now
Okay.
it's
Well, you
Tottenham
guys have your
time.
minute. It's fine. I'll
I
let you
mean,
guys
I
have your
mean,
minute.
hey, just to be fair, your bird team in soccer is doing better than your bird team in baseball. So I mean, there's
Oh
that.
gosh, definitely. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
I picked the wrong
Um,
bird.
I ain't in the mood, yeah. I ain't hit the groove, yeah. I ain't hit the move, yeah.
Welcome
I ain't hit the
everybody
snooze, yeah. I ain't
to A
really
Win
in the
Is a
mood,
Win.
ayy. Chop in my
1 month
ayy. Trying to make
exactly since we last filmed. We just found out this is episode 29, but we are back. And happy NFL Sunday kickoff to everyone. We are filming this on the first Sunday of the NFL season, but we're going to save that for our next episode. We're not going to dive into the NFL just yet, even though I want to so bad after that Chiefs performance against the Lions, but we're going to save that for next episode. But yeah, anyways, this is H Double here again with my usual co-host Sam Cookie
So
and Maddie B.
so,
If you remember last time we had filmed, we finished our quarterback series, but this was before big changes, especially for me, but Matt as well. We were in different backgrounds. I am in Ann Arbor now, been up here for a few weeks, and Matt is at his new spot. I forgot exactly where you're at, but I know you're still in Utah, but Matt and I are both in different locations. We had changes, so that's why it's been a while since we filmed, especially on my end, because it's been a lot moving up here. But we're back. We're going to be back again, 2 episodes a week. We're going to release them on Mondays as per normal, but instead of Fridays, we're going to actually go to Thursdays now for the football season so that it comes out before the Thursday night games. And so then you can kind of hear about everything that happened the week before, right before like the new week starts. So that's our new plan for now, Mondays and Thursdays instead of Mondays and Fridays. But yeah, anyone have anything they'd like to say before I jump into what we're going to talk about?
yeah, so a lot of big mix-ups since the last time you saw us three. It has been exactly a month since we last posted our last podcast episode. So yeah, things have definitely changed between Matt and Charles. For myself, nothing changed. I'm just the same old Sam. I'm still hanging out in good old Springfield, but yeah, Charles moved up to Ann Arbor. Matt started a new job, so he's dipping in that adulting life a little bit. But we're all very excited to get back into it. The NFL season is finally back. We don't need to talk about the Thursday game just yet. I know you guys are scrambling to, but we have a couple other topics down our sleeves for today's episode, and I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, Matt, you got anything?
um, happy to be back. You know.
Are you?
Um, yeah, no, it's good. It feels like it's been a long time since we recorded an episode. Obviously, it's been a month, and I've been noticing our podcast name has been used in a lot of different people's sayings, especially for college football stuff. So kind of fun to see that every time I see someone say that, I'm like, oh, hey,
As
there we
people,
go. Like,
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I was like, hey, I mean, I know it's not like they're not shutting our podcast, but I'm like, hey,
it's close.
they did say that, so
Yeah,
therefore we're
yeah,
supported, So,
yeah,
but
sooner or
no,
later.
it's fun, it's exciting. I mean, we also have been doing our fantasy football league is back and renewed. So the boys, we have a fantasy football league, and then Charles and I have started a dynasty league. He kind of did one on his own, and then we kind of have one that I'm in, but we like are doing together. So that's been pretty fun so far too. So it just feels like the sports world is like it's back and it feels good. So I'm pretty excited for the upcoming months because it should be some pretty good sporting events, whether that's basketball, football, soccer, all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty exciting.
yeah. Yeah, it's really we're about to get into that swing of sports right now because basketball's gonna be coming up soon as well, right around the end of baseball, and then we got football in full swing. So it's gonna be fun and soccer, of course. So I'm excited. Yeah, do you guys want me to? I wanted to show them real quick the new potential pieces of the background that I have acquired. Well, one of these is Autumn's. One of them is mine. I'm going to show you two things that I have acquired since we got up here. So let me go ahead and do that real quick.
So the
Go
audience,
Ravens, by the way. Sorry about Mandrews, by the way, Matt.
so the audience knows I don't think Charles is fully settled into the apartment yet. I think that he's moved into, so he's still working on it, and apparently he's got a couple new things he was teasing about, but he wanted to show it to the podcast first. Oh, Hendon Hooker.
This is
Oh, I
gifted
can't
to
see.
me from Autumn's
Nice.
Autumn's dad, a Hendon Hooker signed Lions jersey.
Where did Autumn's dad get that from?
Yeah, I know. So this might potentially, we'll see about this going up, but this is the first thing.
Dang, that's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
And this is a giant piece. Oh.
Oh wow. Aiden Hutchinson. That's really cool.
It takes up the whole camera.
Holy
That's
heck.
awesome.
Yeah, this is Aiden Hutchinson, as you can see, college signed jersey.
Did you get
with
that
a
at
couple
the
pictures of
Michigan
him?
store?
So this was gifted to Autumn from her dad. So
Dang.
this might go, like right here.
Hey, I support that. You
Yeah.
know me. I'm a big Michigan fan, so.
That would make a pretty good piece.
Let's
Do
see.
you know where Autumn's dad got those from?
Right here. Yeah, those are the potential new pieces
You
for the
know where-
background.
Do you know where Autumn's dad got those from?
Pristine Auction, not sponsored,
Oh,
by the
really?
way. Yeah,
That's awesome.
we
I have
could
a
be
couple-
sponsored, but not sponsored.
No, not yet at least. But
Yeah.
I have a couple things too that I got from Pristine Auction too. So that's awesome.
Yeah, they have good reputation. Sorry,
Yeah.
reputation. Close enough.
And repetition.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, I know Matt's probably like that when he saw that Hutch jersey, he was like, "Oof."
Yeah, that's something that I'd definitely be okay with in my room, 100% for
Yeah.
sure.
Don't worry, I got you. Remember, I got you something that you'll be
Yeah.
enjoying pretty soon.
No, I know.
It is actually directly related to what you're wearing right now. But anyways, all right. So what we're actually going to get into for this episode, we're going to talk about soccer, Sam's favorite. We thought we'd come back, first episode back. We're going to hit it with some soccer. We're going to talk a little bit Premier League, Bundesliga League. Sorry.
Bundesliga.
Bundesliga.
Gosh dang. I care more about the Premier League anyways. And then we also, maybe the Champions League and all that stuff. So that's the agenda, because Matt and I have been following soccer a lot these last few weeks, been texting about it. Unfortunately, there were no games, at least, because of the international break. Is that what you said it was, Matt? There are no games this weekend,
Yeah.
so didn't get to see that. But
And then after that, we're gonna do some college football, correct? Just for a little last bit, if we
yes,
have
and
time.
then we were gonna go into some college football, because that's now we've had 2 weeks into that and some good headlines there. So yeah, you want to start, Matt? You're our main soccer guy. Give us something to talk about.
Yeah, sure. We'll go with kind of the one area and league that you guys both are a little bit more invested in. So go with Premier League and stuff. So pretty exciting stuff. Premier League started almost a month ago, I'd have to say. I think it was a month ago, because this would have been the fourth game, if the international break wouldn't have happened. So there's been 3 games so far. As you know, Charles is a big Brighton fan, and he does root for Chelsea, but definitely Brighton is his team, like 100%. Sam's team is Tottenham. And that's kind of funny, because his team actually let go of one of his players, so my team in Germany could have him, so that was pretty nice. And then my team that I've been trying to root for is Newcastle. Even though lately I've been more on a Brighton kick as well. Like I've honestly as we'll get into it more, like Newcastle did play Brighton, but like every time Brighton is on, like I follow the game. Like I like want to watch it. So like I don't know, like I say I'm a Newcastle fan, but I don't know. I might become a Brighton fan. I don't know. Like I'm still a little wishy-washy a little bit, but like it's kind of fun. But anyways, just kind of getting into it. Soccer is back and that's awesome. The transfer window is closed, so basically that means that buying and selling of players is closed. So in soccer, instead of like trading players, as in like the NBA or NFL, like okay, hey, here's a first round draft pick, etc. You just actually buy players or sell players. But that has closed, so it opens up in like I think it's the beginning of June or maybe it's middle of June, and goes all the way up until like the very end of August, pretty much. Um, and so there are some big names that have gone and big names that have come in. I mean, obviously Charles, his team, they've made some good profit off of a couple of their players that they've sold. And they've brought in some good players too. Newcastle has also brought in a couple new players, especially one from AC Milan, Sandro Tonali. So, and he's been pretty good. And then obviously Sam's team, they've sold a pretty big name. They sold Harry Kane, but for a really big fee, 100 million pounds or 100 million euros plus 20 millions added on. And those add-ons are usually like performance-based things, like if you reach the Champions League final or if you're the highest scoring person in the league, right? So those kind of things. So that's some pretty exciting. I don't know. That's kind of like my little synopsis of it, but I want to hear like Sam and Charles. I want to hear your thoughts and opinions kind of on that first 3 weeks and kind of getting into it. I mean, I know Charles pulled the trigger, and now we have a good old Peacock, so we can watch the Premier League. So
Thank you for
Charles
shouting that out.
Charles is definitely he's getting invested, which is as a soccer fan for me is good to see. But I want to hear your thoughts and opinions, Sam and Charles. So you have the floor.
Well, I've been trying to cope with the loss of Harry Kane these past few weeks. It's been very sad. I don't know. I guess you guys are supposed to tell me. I don't really know who to root for now. I'm obviously not as well. No,
That's up to you, dog.
Not team wise, but best player on Hotspur now.
Oh, do the captain, do Hyungwin's son. He's the South Korean guy. He's pretty good. And he's fun.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
That's
Yeah.
good. I do like good guys. They're better than bad guys. So that's that's my take for soccer or football today. So
Sam,
That-
so you don't care
that's
about
on?
Tottenham as like
No,
number like
no, I
2 or
definitely
number
do.
3 or
I definitely do.
Is that it then?
Do.
I mean, honestly, I
Let's
I
give
was
your
gonna
thoughts,
say,
Charles.
what thoughts do you have? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can give mine. Obviously, I've been, I'm more invested in the Premier League than anything, but I will say this Europe stuff, aka Champions League, Europa, that stuff excites me because that's everyone, who's earned it going against each other. So I'm really excited to obviously watch Brighton and the Europa, which is like next Thursday, I think is when they play, and then Champions is like right around that same time. So I'm gonna try and be, watching those games those matches every now and then if I can. So that's really exciting. But yeah, I mean, Brighton, we got that I keep forgetting his name. Matt will tell me the rental from
from Barcelona.
Yeah.
Ansu Fati.
Yeah. We got him.
Fati, it's like Fati.
And obviously, we lost Casado for that crazy amount, but we made such a big profit. And it really seems like Brighton is becoming, I was telling Matt this, it's, I think, becoming somewhat of a destination that's not, like players kind of are interested in it. It's not maybe a laughing stock like Matt thought it was when I picked them as my Premier League team to win it all last year. They're actually becoming something, and it's really fun to see. And I think they obviously have a chance to crack top 4 in the Premier League. Like I truly do. And Matt agrees. I'm pretty sure you said you could see them being top 4. I think you predicted them 5th. I think you predicted them 5th.
I did. I do have to say though, to my defense, I didn't say Brighton was a laughing stock. I was just surprised you picked them first because, like, for me, like Man City got like Erling Haaland and other teams. So for me, that was why I was like, okay, yeah, there's no way they're beating Man. Like over a whole course of a season, they're not beating Man City. Like honestly, right now, do I think Brighton could beat Man City like in a game? I think so. I think there's a chance. You know what I'm saying? But over a whole season, I was kind of like, bro,
Well,
they're not getting
your
first.
prediction would say otherwise when you predict them 15th, to finish 15th. That's pretty bad.
Hey, but
Anyways,
not a laughing stock though. They
yeah,
wouldn't have been relegated. So
that's true. I guess that's true. But yeah, it's really I finally, I went and bought Peacock because I really wanted to watch some Premier League, and now Matt's using it too. And I watched the Brighton Newcastle game because Matt says obviously he's a Newcastle fan, and Brighton took it to him. Big win for us. So yeah, I'm just really excited to follow the soccer this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. I really am excited for, like I said, Europe. I think that'll be super cool. I'm going to try and watch the Champions League, especially when it gets down to like to single elimination when we get the bracket. So yeah, and real quick also, Tottenham is actually tied for second right now in the Premier League. They are
Yeah, they are
1-0. They haven't lost yet technically. So
surprisingly.
yeah, I don't know. I think
Things
I
can
don't
happen.
want them to be that good. I hope they fall off eventually, but
Hope we fall off.
yeah,
We probably will.
that's easily my biggest rival right there. I
I
didn't like them
actually,
anyways. They're also a blue bird, or they're a bird, and they're not as good as the seagulls. So
that's true. They are a blue bird. I guess I like birds too. But I was digging a little bit, doing a little bit of research on the GOAT team, Tottenham. Song Heung Min. I think that's who you were mentioning, Matt.
Kim Sun Min,
What was
like
that?
Hyungmin Sun, Hyungmin Sun.
Oh,
It's like Hyung and then Min and then Sun. It's like
oh, okay.
Heung and then dash Min MIN and then his last name is Sun SON.
Okay. That's super weird. I think that's a like an Eastern thing too, where
Uh,
people's
y-
people have their
yeah.
last name listed. That's interesting. But yeah, no, I was actually looking at the leaderboards and he leads the team with 3 goals scored so far. That's pretty good. So
Yep. It's because he
yeah,
had a hat trick. I believe it was the week. It was that last game before the international break. So the
nice.
same day that the Brighton guy had a hat trick and Erling Haaland had a hat trick, the first time ever that three
yeah,
people have had a hat trick in the Premier League on the same day for like
that was
20
cool.
years.
Yeah, our guy Evan Ferguson was like the seventh youngest because he's not even 19 yet, but he's still 18. So I
Wow.
know I looked up his
Imagine,
age, because we were watching. And I was like, he does look young, but I thought he'd be like maybe 20, 21, 22. And he said 18. And I was like, holy,
yeah, imagine being 18 years old and balling out in the Premier League. It's
yeah,
crazy.
man. It's really cool. So one other thing I actually wanted to just talk about. Sam unfortunately can't really contribute because Tottenham's not in Europe. I wanted Matt and I to talk about our teams and how we think that they're going to do in Europe. Because we obviously got our matchups, we have our pools. Matt obviously rooting for both Bayern and Newcastle and champions, and then I have Brighton and Europa. You want to go first, Matt, or do you?
Yeah, I just want to say sorry to Sam. I'm sorry that Charles just is roasting you like left
Yeah,
and right
Charles,
Hey,
already.
you know
bro, he's
what?
laid me out
The
on everything.
Chiefs talk is so last year. Now it's time to roast them in
Now it's
soccer.
now it's time for the real Chiefs of
Yeah,
soccer.
yeah. Now
Okay.
it's
I'll let you
Tottenham
guys have your
time.
minute. It's fine. I'll
I
let you
mean,
guys
I
have your
mean,
minute.
hey, just to be fair, your bird team in soccer is doing better than your bird team in baseball. So I mean, there's
Oh
that.
gosh, definitely. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
I picked the wrong
Um,
bird.
um, but yeah, so as Charles said, my two teams are both in Champions League. I can talk about the Newcastle one first, just because this is the first time that they're playing Champions League in 20 years, and they got like a group of death, 100%. They got Paris Saint-Germain, which is the champion of France. They got Borussia Dortmund, which was the second
Mhm.
place team in Germany and rival of Bayern. And then they also got AC Milan, which they finished, I want to say either second or third in the Italian league, but they got to the semifinals last year in the Champions League. So you have like three like super established teams in that competition, and you have Newcastle, and they're all like big hitters, big dogs. Because usually you don't get that. Usually you'll have two good teams in the same pool, and then two like not as great teams. So that's gonna be cool. But those matches are gonna be great. And like think about it, like Newcastle versus PSG or Borussia Dortmund versus AC Milan, like those are games that you're gonna want to watch. So it's like, okay, like I gotta watch these games, So even though I support Newcastle, I'm not like super tied to them just yet, So it's not like devastating if they, lose out or whatever. But as like a soccer fan, like that's like a great group to watch because you're like, okay, I know each and every game is going to be good soccer. You have big teams playing big teams. So like that's super awesome. Then going to my other group, which is Bayern Munich. Um, they got in a group of it was Manchester United, Galatasaray, and who was the other person?
Copenhagen or something.
Oh,
like that?
Copenhagen. Yeah.
Copenhagen.
Copenhagen from Denmark. That would be pretty good. The last time we played Manchester United, I believe was the champion was it 2012, I think it was. But what that is most known for is in 1999, Manchester United was down 2-1 in the Champions League final, and they scored in like the 91st and like 94th minute to beat Bayern. And so for us, it's a little hard, because we lost the Champions League to them. But that'll be a good group. Bayern does play them on their first game and their last game of the competition for the pool play. And so they play not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. So that's like what the 20th or 21st, I think is what it is. I think it's the 20th, I think. But I like their chances. Bayern has advanced the last 16, I think, for the past like 15 years, something like that. And then they haven't lost a game in the Champions League group play, I think, in 35 games. And you get 6 games per you get is it 6 games? Yeah, 6 games per group stage. So they haven't lost in like almost like 6 years in the group stage.
That's actually really impressive.
Yeah, so that does include draws, so you can draw, it's just not losing, right?
Mhm.
And I think the percentages, I think they're 32-3. So 32 wins and 3 draws. So so it's almost like it's almost like a foregone conclusion that Bayern will make it to last 16, which I hope they do. But it'll be pretty good, and I'm pretty excited. So I cannot wait for the Champions League. It's probably one of my favorite competitions outside of the Bundesliga, which is the German league, which big game for Bayern this week on Friday. They play Bayer Leverkusen. It's number 1 versus number 2 in the league. Bayer Leverkusen's number 1 right now. Bayern's number 2 just because of the goal differential. Bayer Leverkusen just has one more goal, like 4 than Bayern. So it's going to be a good game.
So I just have a couple questions, and I know Matt loves this kind of stuff. He eats this stuff up when I ask him soccer questions. So these other two for example, these other two clubs that are in the Bayern group, besides obviously you and Man United, how exactly did they get in there again? Because I've never heard of them.
So Galatasaray from the Turkish league, and they won their league.
Okay.
And then Copenhagen, it was a playoff, the Champions League playoff, and they got through there. And so depending on your league, you get slotted into different tiers pretty much. Like the Turkish league, like they get a champion in, but because their ranking in UEFA was lower than like Bayern and Man U, they were put in a different like system because there's like 4 pots of 8 teams each. So that way, like, pot 1, right, is your big dogs, like the winners, right? Whereas pot 4 is kind of people who just barely made it in, or ranking wise, like Newcastle was 4th for the Premier League, and that's why they were in the 4th pot, right? So there's a bunch of different stuff that goes on, but that's kind of like the brief, like really in depth
Yeah.
into that.
It looked like this one, the playoff. How do you qualify? So is that a whole another thing about how you qualify for the playoffs?
Yeah,
in the
so
Champions?
so there's like depending on where you finish in certain leagues, there's called the Champions League playoffs, which means that then you play another team from a different league, and then that's how you get into the Champions League. So some leagues have to qualify through the playoff route because they're not as big, you
Mhm.
know.
Okay.
So
And then also just another question, because I'm looking at like the Champions League standings. So if you get third in your group, does that mean you automatically qualify for Europa the next year, or is it this year?
you qualify for Europa that year. So you go and you play I think it's the second place team in the Europa League. And
In the
then from
playoff?
there they go on, in the playoff, and then whoever wins that then gets into the round of 16,
Yeah,
I
because
believe.
it says, I think I remember you telling me that, 'cause if you go to Europa and it shows the top two, one is next round, and then two it has playoffs. So
Yeah,
that's
so
you play
basically they
the
play the third place Champions League
yeah.
team.
That's
Yeah.
that's pretty cool actually.
Yep. So just because you got third place doesn't mean you're not gonna play in Europe. It just means you're not going in the Champions League. So
Okay. Yeah.
so yeah, so like Barcelona last year, they were in a group with Bayern, Inter Milan, uh, Barcelona, and like this team from where was it? Anyways, it was like a random team, and Barcelona actually got third, and so they had to go to the Europa League, and then Inter Milan, they went all the way to the final against Man City. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what happens. So
Mhm.
it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun. So just because you got third place in the Champions League doesn't mean you're not playing in Europe. You just won't win a Champions League, but you still could win the Europa League. So it's like you
Mhm.
get a double shot. So that's why qualifying for Champions League is really good because you have a 75% chance to still play in Europe, even if you don't get top two and move on, So
Mhm. Yeah, so now going to Brighton in the Europa League. So first in our group we have Marseille, who actually I'm kind of a fan of because they're the French team I picked with my sister because my sister really enjoys France. So we picked them together. So I'm kind of root for them. The backwards Wizard 101 logo. They're in our group,
Hmm.
and they're pretty near the top of that league. And then Ajax, who I don't know much about, but I know that they are in the
it is
Dutch.
pronounced Ajax, just by the way.
I like Ajax better, but Ajax
That's fine.
in the
Yeah.
Dutch. I know they're in the Dutch league.
Mhm.
And I think I've heard of them. And so I know I was doing a little research as well while you were talking, Matt, looking at like how they've, fared the last, years or so. And they look like a pretty tough team, honestly. And
Mhm.
then also AEK, as you just say it like that, AEK
Yeah,
Athens.
it's just I think AK Athens. Yeah, no,
Yeah, we have to
you got it.
play. And I was looking at them as well. And they had a good season last year. And so Matt was not kidding when he said our bracket's pretty tough. Or I call it bracket. Our group is pretty tough.
Mhm.
It makes me a little nervous, but really excited to see how we fare. Our new transfers are hopefully going to be playing by then. I'm assuming they will be, so that'll be a big boost. I think we can get, top two. I do, but I could see us getting last too. I think this is actually a really tough group, but I'm super excited to see how the Seagulls do. I'd love to see us advance, but we'll see. And I'd also like to see us, if we can get second, go up against one of those Champion League teams in a playoff. So I don't know. If I had to say though, I'm nervous that we're not going to get top two. I'm just a little nervous. I think Marseille is better by a little bit, and I think Ajax, is that how you say it? Ajax is a little better, honestly. And but I don't know. It's gonna be exciting though. I think it's a great challenge at least. So I'm really excited for the matches, but I'm also pretty nervous. Yeah.
I think you guys will get first in your group.
You think we're gonna get first?
Well, just the way you guys are playing in Premier League, And since that's like the best league in Europe, like the ranking wise, I think you guys can do it. I think you guys have a good team. You have some good players. I think you guys can get first.
Yeah, that is true. I'm still just a little sad about that new who was it again we lost to? Was it who did we lose to?
McAllister.
No, West
lose
Ham.
to-
West Ham.
Yeah.
That West Ham loss was kind of sad, but they are 3-1-0 as well. So I guess I can't be too upset right now. But yeah, I guess, looking back on it though, with how we played besides that game, it's been pretty good. So, and we
you guys
have
beat some good teams.
we
So.
have our new transfers that are gonna, especially the one from Barcelona. He's gonna, I think, have a big impact for us. So, yeah. Thanks, Matt, for being so confident. Sam, you did it. You got through soccer again.
Matt always exudes confidence.
Well, he's kind of a Brighton fan too, so I don't blame him for picking them first. And I probably should just pick them first too. But I still don't know enough about soccer yet. I don't know enough about these other teams to really know how good they are. But hey, if Brighton's playing well, I should just be confident in them.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
Okay, got to start somewhere,
If Brighton was off to a bad start, in the Premier League, then it'd be like, oh yeah, they might get last, or third. So
I'm still waiting for that Tottenham choke. They're gonna have a mid-season collapse from now, I think.
Dude, it's so funny. We literally let Aston Villa into the Europa Conference instead of you guys last year. Because they beat us in the last game of the season, and they got in instead of you by 1 point.
We got screwed over.
Good stuff. Let's go, Brighton. Yeah. College football time.
But yeah, I think it's about that time. What are we looking on time, Matt?
He's like that reporter who didn't get the signal for like 5
we
seconds.
have probably about 15 minutes for college football.
Okay,
he was like that reporter, when they, the live report, they go to him and he's just
Yeah.
standing there for like 5 seconds and then he starts talking.
Yeah.
That was Matt right there.
But yeah, no, college football, it finally kicked off a couple of weeks ago. It felt like forever since college football ended, and now it's finally starting back up. But I know both of you guys are pretty hyped for it. I was especially hyped for it this season just because the legend, the GOAT, Deion Sanders, he's finally he decided to make his coaching appearance for Colorado. I love Deion Sanders. He just seems like an amazing guy. He's cooler than I ever will be. I will be honest, and it's turning out to be a fun year so far. We're only 2 weeks in, but it's turning out to be a fun year. Obviously, I've watched a few other teams just outside of Colorado, but Colorado is definitely my bandwagon team this year. I love them so far.
Oh, nice.
I mean, I don't blame you, Sam, because I like them too. I mean, Shedeur Sanders, his son, really good QB. Travis Hunter is insane, playing both ways of the ball, cornerback and wide receiver. Like that's like insane. So
yeah,
if there's a team that I want to have do well and stuff, it's them. Like I've always been a Deion Sanders fan just because I like Primetime. I just like who he is as a person, and as a man, I think he's like an amazing person as well. Like he's not just like your NFL star. Like he talks about God, talks about wanting to make sure his program isn't building football players but building men, and I think in today's society that's like super important, right? Hey, at some point football will end. So how are you gonna contribute to society? How are you gonna benefit society, and things like that. So I really like what he's doing and everything, and it's been a pretty good story. And that TCU game that first week was electric. Like, I mean,
awesome.
that's just such a great way to kick off week one. I mean, and a great game last night between Texas and Alabama. That game was insane. It was so fun to watch. So far we've had some good games already.
That's
yeah.
for sure.
Well, now that I'm in a college football town, I would say, and let me tell you, I see it now. It's It's pretty nuts. And we're near, we're actually pretty far away from kind of where the stadium is, central campus. But I remember, the traffic after the games, even like where we are, is so bad coming back because there's so many fans there. So now I have the taste of kind of what it's like to be in a college football town, which is, Michigan, one of the best. So I'm rooting for them, of course. Matt and I might be going to a game this year. We'll see. The big house. So yeah, I really like Michigan, obviously. JJ McCarthy looks great. I gotta talk about them a little bit. I'm in Ann Arbor, right? So I like Michigan. I really hope that maybe this is a year that they can win it all. I think they've kind of had the teams that have been able to maybe have that chance the last couple of years, but back-to-back semifinal losses. Maybe this is the year they can get over the hump. I feel really good about them. Yeah, Texas looked really good. I watched some of that game last night. I watched the moonshot touchdown. That was a beautiful throw, beautiful catch. Yeah, Texas, they're kind of getting back too. They used to be, good back in the early 2010s, and around that time they were a really good team. They kind of, in the later 2010s and stuff weren't nearly as good, but they're turning into a little bit of a powerhouse again. And yeah, I mean, obviously, how can I not talk about Colorado a little bit? The story of college football so far, easily. I mean, it's crazy what Dion has been able to do. 80, what was it, 80 plus new players on the team or something like that. Basically,
I think it was 78. I think he had 78 new
78.
players. But still, though, that's like
78.
It's like what?
They've absolutely inspired that city. You see how packed the games are now, how excited the fan base is, and it's just really fun to see some of the players that they have that are electric, and they're going to be a fun watch for sure. Which, by the way, that leads me to the USC Colorado game in a couple weeks. People are already pinpointing that. Caleb Williams versus Shedeur Sanders. People are super pumped for that, and I'm really pumped for that game too in a couple weeks. That'll be a lot of fun.
Good game.
Yeah,
and in a couple weeks too, Colorado plays Oregon. I think they play Oregon.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and I think Colorado's going to win.
Do they play at home or away though? Do you know?
I think it's in Oregon.
Oh,
I think
Colorado then.
I think it's in Oregon. I mean, it like sucks because like I really like Colorado, but of course they're in the Pac-12 and everything. But I do have to say, shout out to the Pac-12. They have looked like the best conference so far.
Shout out to what is remaining of the Pac-12.
Yeah, like it's so funny because like the Pac-12 actually is doing really well this year, and of course it's whenever.
I mean, I know
I would say, "Oh, we're going to different conferences."
I know a lot of those schools are going to go to the Big 12. But I was going to say the Big 12, honestly, outside of Texas, doesn't actually look that strong this year. I was looking at them, and I know that like some of those teams are solid, but outside of Texas, there's real no, like they don't look that strong as a conference this year. But I guess the Big 12 has never been. But I just remember like last year, they were pretty good with like TCU.
I mean,
and they've had
Big 12 is a pretty good football conference. Like there's some passing, like a lot of offense and stuff. I mean, but obviously they're known for their basketball. Like Big 12 basketball is different, and everyone knows that that's the best conference in basketball for, ever. So, but I am sad because I've been a big Pac-12 guy because of Oregon and stuff, But this is how the Pac-12 is going to end. And I'm really happy it's going to end this way because there's going to be a lot of fireworks. And honestly, I think because there's so many good teams, I really don't think any of them are going to get to the CFP just because I think they're going to beat each other up.
Wow. Okay. You don't think like Colorado?
I mean, Colorado out there on the table, but I mean, here's the thing, like, could Colorado beat Oregon? Yes. Could they also lose to them? Yes. Could they beat USC? I think so. Could they also lose to them? Yes. Could USC do the same thing? Absolutely. Could Utah do the same thing? All right. It's like all these teams could beat each other on any given day. There's not one dominant team. It's not like the Big Ten where you have three teams. You have Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, right? Like, okay, as long as you beat one of those or both of those teams or one of those teams, like you're going to be fine. Same thing with the SEC. It's Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, as long as Georgia doesn't lose to both, right? Like you're gonna be fine. Like there's really no other like it's not like every week on your schedule like, oh, I could lose to them. Oh, I could lose to them. Like Colorado has Oregon, USC. I think they also have who else do they have? They have Oregon State, I think. They also have I want to say Washington. I mean, that's already four teams that are like ranked. Like
Yeah.
not even like low, like they're pretty high. Like they're like the mid teens, like in the tens, So it's like, oof, like that's already like a third of your schedule.
It makes me it makes me happy to see the Pac-12 and the success they're having because I like the Pac-12 a lot too, and it's really sad to see them go like this. But I just wanted to say I saw yesterday that podcast alum Michael Rector had posted a couple stories, because Stanford was playing USC, and he was like, "Go Stanford!" And he showed a couple of his highlights from his days when Stanford was really good. Like when he played, Stanford was really good against USC. It didn't really work out, which we kind of figured because they got blown out. But just wanted to shout him out for at least trying. So trying to rep his alum, even though they got destroyed, but that's okay.
I think another guy deserves a shout out too. Travie? Yeah.
Travis Vokalek?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's on the Ravens practice squad.
Yeah.
Which
he
is
balled
really
out
cool.
he balled out in the preseason. We weren't making podcasts at the time, but I think we all kind of freaked out whenever he had that multi-touchdown game in the preseason.
I did not expect that. That was actually so cool.
That was really cool to watch.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. Yeah, he had that 2-touchdown game in the preseason game against the Commanders. So shout out to Travis for that because that was awesome.
I still to this day can't believe he didn't make the 53-man roster. He did eventually go back on the practice squad, but the Ravens cut him. Why would they do that?
Well, it was tough because you want me to explain to you? I can explain to you in detail.
Well, I sort of know. You probably know a lot more than I do.
I do.
Really good tight end room, and Travis would have been. He probably would have been the fourth or fifth string.
He would have been fourth, but we also we decided to keep Pat Ricard, who's been our Pro Bowl fullback. Although in Tom Monken's new offense, there's not going to be much of a fullback, but we kind of listed him as a tight end / fullback because he's really gonna, he's a really good blocker. So we kind of kept him as well. So that just made the room way too crowded because we have obviously Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, and then Charlie Collier, and then
but he is on the
Travis.
practice squad though.
Exactly. I was actually nervous a team might sign him. I would have been happy for him, but I'm glad he's still in the purple.
Man,
so
the Chiefs could have used him this week.
Yeah, they could have used him honestly.
No,
just because he only got about a couple minutes. Not that I don't love Travis, because I do. Like shout out, go Big Red, right? He's a Nebraska guy. But let's kind of give some CFP R4 for college football playoff. I know Charles and I did this last year, and it was kind of fun. Granted, we've now had 2 weeks of the season, so we might be cheating a little bit. But let's give our CFP, our college football playoff top 4. Give your prediction end of the season, and let's start with Sam. We'll go Charles and then me. So Sam, give us your top 4. Who do you think will make it? And you don't have to do order. You can just say top 4.
So for the college football playoffs, is it this year or next year when they start doing 8 teams instead of 4?
Next year will be 8. This year is 4.
Okay, so they're starting that next year. Well, yeah, like Matt said, we're 2 weeks into the season. I think Georgia's a lock, though. They look like a really strong team every year. As they pretty much dominate the SEC, them in Alabama, for a few years. I probably also have to give it to Michigan. Michigan looks really strong too. That gives 2 teams. I think Ohio State is probably going to be that third team in the list. Kind of a more hot take, I think, but they've also looked really, really good, I think. And then number 4, I always want it to be a more fun pick. I think it would be a little bit too crazy of a take if I said a team like Colorado. I would probably have to give it to Penn State.
Oh man, Big Ten dominant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone is a Big Ten or a big fan of the Big Ten. Yeah.
Yeah, Big Ten fan. I wouldn't want to say Mizzou either, even though I kind of believe that's my college football team. They sort of suck now though. So
yeah,
wouldn't say them.
Man, this is a tough one. Man, Matt is right about the Pac-12 and where they're going to beat each other up so that none of them are going to get in. But like, I really want to pick a Pac-12 school, and so this is our podcast, and we can have our own opinion. So I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to go. USC. I feel like they're going to lose one of those games like they always do, and I think Colorado, as much as we like them, I can't see them winning all their games. So that's probably not going to be enough. I'm gonna go with matching the color of my shirt. I'm gonna go Washington. I'm gonna go out there a little bit. I'm gonna say Washington. I want a little bit of a sleeper pick. A little bit. I don't think anyone would really think them. I'm gonna go with the Huskies because I really like their offense. Their quarterback's really good. So.
Okay.
Washington University.
I would have called you crazy if you picked Washington.
I mean, they have a really tough schedule. So
yeah, they do.
But Michigan State, Oregon, USC, Utah, Oregon State, Washington State. But I'm just gonna go with them. If they can, low key, if a Pac-12 team can go through that, maybe with only one loss to a good team or undefeated, I think that team has a good chance to maybe win the CFP. I'm not even kidding. So whatever team that is, if any of them, I'm picking them to win the CFP. And I'm just gonna pick Washington for now. I'm gonna go Michigan. I'm also going to go Georgia just because I think that Georgia's schedule is pretty easy besides Tennessee. So they're probably just going to win enough to get in anyways. And then for number 4, I'm going to go with I'm going to go Texas. I think that they can win they can go through that Big 12. And I think that win against Alabama would be enough to get them in the top 4 if they go undefeated, which I think that they're probably the best team in the Big 12 by a good chunk right now. I don't think Oklahoma is much of a threat. So I'm going to go Texas. So those are my 4.
Nice. My 4 are going to be pretty similar. I want to pick a Pac-12 school, but I can't.
You can though.
I can, but I won't because they just will beat up on each other. And I think that's going to be the best football league this year. It's going to be so fun, but there's not one dominant team. So I'm going to go Georgia, Michigan. I'm going to pick Texas as well. And then for my 4th team, I'm actually going to pick Florida State. I liked what they did against LSU. Yeah. I think they can beat Clemson because they didn't look too good against Duke. And I like their offense. I like their quarterback. So I'm going to go FSU, Florida State.
Florida State's actually a very good pick. That's a smart pick.
So
honestly, if it wasn't a Pac-12 school for me, I'd probably pick Florida State too. Because they've looked really good so far.
Yeah, and honestly, I like your Washington pick. I think they are pretty good. Like if you ask me right now, I'd say probably it goes USC has the best shot, then Washington, and then I'd probably put Colorado in that 3rd spot. So
yeah, but look at all the schools. Oregon. Oregon State, Utah, Washington State just beat Wisconsin yesterday.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really rooting for a Pac-12 team to make it. Maybe it's USC's year this year. I don't know. Maybe they will run through the Pac-12. And if they do, I think that they have a good chance to win the CFP. Whoever, what it's going to remind me of? Whoever can go through the Pac-12, it would remind me a lot of Joe Burrow's LSU team. If a team can go through undefeated in that Pac-12, I think that they're going to win it all. Yeah. So it'd be like Joe Burrow's LSU a couple years ago. Let's go. Good stuff.
Joe Burrow.
Well, boys, it's almost that time for NFL football. So we got to get the pod.
Let me do a couple last comments real quick and then we'll end it. Big disappointment. USA FIBA not even getting bronze. We got 4th.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, Austin Reeves. So just wanted to say that. I'm a little disappointed, huh?
Did they also choke to Lithuania?
Yeah, we lost 3 games.
Ooh.
Yeah, not as. I mean, obviously it's not our best, but
you didn't have the best people either. Whereas the other teams kind of did have their best, right? Which I really wish the U.S. players had more it'd be nice if Jason Tatum's no, I really want to do this, or Devin Booker is no, I really want to do it. Right?
They're all saving it for next year.
Oh yeah, for the Olympics.
If you saw that King James comment on the USA team, they were imagine this team next year, and LeBron commented with eyes on it.
Yeah.
Oh, another gold medal
know
for his
something.
goat case. Anyways,
No, I'm too
and then I
tired.
also just want to shout out the Andy Reid State Farm commercial because
That one's funny.
that's a good commercial. That's the one good thing that happened to the Chiefs on Thursday.
I don't think I saw it then. If it happened on Thursday night, I think
The
I
the
was
With the
Nuggies.
excited.
fries and the
Yeah.
burgers and the nuggies.
Oh no, I was trying.
Oh,
I
look it up,
was.
Sam.
Oh,
Look it up.
it's so
I'll
good.
have to
It's
look
so
it up.
funny.
I'll have
Yeah.
to look it up. I walked out during every commercial break for that game. I probably should have just went to bed after halftime too. That game was awful for the Chiefs.
You guys were winning. Yeah, we'll get into that
Oh,
later.
we were
We'll get into
winning,
that
but
later.
not in like Chiefs fashion. Not in Chiefs fashion, but we'll talk about it later.
All right. Who wants to hit us with the
That's
outro?
good.
I got you, boys.
Go ahead, Matt.
Well, boys, thank you for indulging us today with our soccer talk. That actually was our longest section today, actually. So, if you would have told me like a couple years ago that soccer would be one of our most talked about segments on a podcast, I'd be like, okay, like, did we get another
You
person who likes
wouldn't care.
soccer? Like, I'd be like, I don't believe you, but okay. So for me, it's pretty happy. Like, I love soccer. Charles knows this. Like, I eat, live, and breathe like soccer. Like, I love it. So that's pretty awesome. NFL football starts today. So that's pretty dang exciting. Uh, College football has been nothing but exciting, and the podcast is back, and we're super excited for that. Even though we're in 3 different time zones, 3 different states, we are super excited for all this stuff. We have some good plans coming up, and hopefully, we can take it to a little bit more of a new height. So, yeah, thank you guys for listening to Wins to Win podcast. For those of you who have been waiting a month, it's finally here. We have an episode. And it's for you guys. So we appreciate you guys. We appreciate all the listeners. And let's have a good Sunday football and Monday night football. Let's have some fun,
Yes, sir.
Peace out, everyone.